This has been a phenomenal opportunity and a phenomenal experience thus far, and we're excited about our next panelists, the panel discussion. We are having NASA Center overview, the doing business with NASA Primes, what companies need to know. And this will be moderated by Charles Williams, Program Manager with NASA Small Business Office.
So again, good morning. We are on a time schedule, so I'm going to move this panel right along. I'm the newest Small Business Program Manager in headquarters, and am fortunate enough to moderate this panel. So one of the things you heard earlier this morning, Mr. Delgado talk about was the subcontracting dollars. For the first time in years, our prime contractors subcontracted out more dollars to small businesses than we did direct to NASA, at a tune of about $2.8 billion. So again, this is a very important panel if you're interested in that $2.8 billion. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna introduce them. They're gonna start, and they're gonna tell you a little bit about their companies and how to do business with them. And then at the end, if time allows, we'll have a couple of questions at the end. So, starting at my left, first we have Mr. Bradley Bruce. He's with the Boeing Company. Next to him, Joanne Belt. She's with Jacobs. Next to her, Miss Michelle Butsky. She's with Lockheed Martin. Next to her is Miss Jennifer Schofield with Orbital ATK. She's the energetic one. Next to her, we have Laura Blumberg. She's with SAIC. And bringing it up for us is Miss Valinda Highfield, and she's with Sierra Nevada Corporations. So I'll turn it over to Bruce.
All right. Thank you, Chuck. I'm Brad Bruce. I'm the manager of our Global Supplier Diversity program for Boeing under our Defense, Space, and Security side of the business. I'm located in Huntsville, Alabama, and I have about 20 small business liaison officers that report up to me across all of our businesses. The next slide just gives you a little bit of a background on the Boeing Company. We were founded in 1916. We just celebrated a couple years ago 100 years, and looking forward to the next 100 years. We're the leading producer of military and commercial aircraft, and we're a global company with about approximately $94.6 billion revenue in 2016. We have contracts with more than 20,000 suppliers and partners globally, and approximately 145,000 employees across 65 countries. And our headquarters is here in Chicago. Okay, next slide is this is a breakdown of our Boeing divisions. You can see we're a large we have a large portion of commercial, which is about 70% of our sales outside the U.S. across for our commercial business. Defense, Space, and Security, where our side is headquartered in Washington, D.C. We have a large balance of backlog across a lot of our defense, space, and security markets. And then just last year, we stood up our global services, which is a lot of our service and logistic type work, which is headquartered in Dallas. You can see is focused on our defense, space, and commercial customers. And then a lot of our corporate functions is our indirect supply chain, which we have a large number of suppliers in that area as well. Now we get onto the space exploration, which falls under Defense, Space, and Security. These are three major programs: Commercial Crew, the CST-100, which is being operated out of Kennedy Space Center, our division down there. International Space Station out of Houston, Texas, and Space Launch System being based out of Marshall Space Flight Center. This is a breakdown our NAICS codes across all the three of those major programs. I'm not going to go through each one of these. I'll be supporting the matchmaking this afternoon, so if you have any questions concerning any of these NAICS codes, but you'll see a lot of these same NAICS codes stretch across all of these major programs. And then here are some tips for success. I think you heard a lot of the same tips, working with primes. Heard it with a lot of the small business specialists with NASA, but just really do your homework, understand how your capabilities align with our Boeing programs, and then make sure they accurately reflect your company capabilities. Certifications are big. You need to note your certifications when you come and talk to myself or one of our SPLOs. Building those relationships, email is the easiest form of communication. Then participating in local outreach events. I think we've named a number of those. Understand what sets your small business apart from your competitors. What value can you bring to us? And then, of course, always think it's going to be a marathon. It's not going to be a sprint. So as you start building those relationships, you got to think it's going to be a long term. And then we have webinars that we can assist a lot further steps in becoming a Boeing supplier. And I think that. And then here's some points of contacts that you can take a snapshot. That's it.
And again, I think we're going to make sure that all of the presentations are going to be posted on the PTAC website. So if you don't get the pictures and all of that stuff, they will be posted so you'll be able to get that information. Okay?
Good morning. My name is Joanne Belt, and I'm with our Jacobs Group out of Huntsville, Alabama. It's the Jacobs Space Exploration Group. And I'm going to share with you a little bit about Jacobs and then our tips as well. Jacobs is a premier, let me go to the next slide, is a premier global engineering firm that's been in existence since 1947, and we pride ourselves with the ability to provide our clients with innovative solutions to meet their mission and objectives. We have over 74,000 employees in over 400 locations across 40 plus countries. And we continue to expand our capabilities with the acquisition of CH2M. We are organized by lines of business: aerospace technology, environmental and nuclear, energy, chemicals and resources, buildings, infrastructure, and advanced facilities. Our parent company is out of Dallas, Texas, and I will talk with you today specifically about the aerospace technology and environmental nuclear line of business, which is where I reside. So within A10 line of business, we have over 20 plus business units who focus on a particular customer. And I am, again, out of the Jacobs Space Exploration Group, and our client is Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville. And we are very humble, thankful, and very fortunate to have been supporting Marshall continuously since 1989. And our most recent work is through the award of our Engineering Services and Science Capability Augmentation Contract. We are the recipient of the 2017 SBA Dwight D. Eisenhower Award for Excellence in Small Business Subcontracting. Under the ESCA contract, about 80% of our support is in support of the Space Launch System program, and 20% is science. Within these key mission areas, we provide vehicle design, systems engineering and integration, analysis, software development and testing, and operations support and programmatic support as well. The next chart will show some examples of our support, again, in all disciplines of engineering, analysis, development, and test. Additional pictures. And I will say that we work very closely with the primes to help them to integrate and test the vehicle. Tips for success. The first is to get to know us and the services that we provide, and to know our customers. Also to learn what is important to us as well, and that is excellent cost control, proven past performance, robust financial management system, and flexibility and responsiveness. Those are my slides, and I do apologize that I do not have a contact slide in there, but you can see me afterwards.
Good morning. I'm Michelle Butsky, and I work for Lockheed Martin Corporation. Lockheed Martin is a global security and aerospace firm. We're based out of Bethesda, Maryland. We have over 100,000 employees, and I'm going to tell you what Lockheed Martin does based on our value statement, and I want you to listen to it carefully, because when I meet with you this afternoon, I want you to tell me where your company fits into this, right? This is part of your homework. So what is Lockheed Martin? What does Lockheed Martin do? Lockheed Martin is principally engaged in the research, design, development, manufacturing, integration, and sustainment of advanced technology systems, products, and services. That's pretty big, right? So it's not, what are those services? What are those technologies? I'm going to tell you our 4 divisions. The first is aeronautics. This is the one you're probably most familiar with, the public is most familiar with. Based out of Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, we build America's warfighters like the F-16 and the F-35. So if it flies with wings in the air, it's probably made through our aeronautics division. The second 2 columns you see are our missiles and fire control and rotary and mission systems divisions, and they are all over the United States and support primarily Department of Defense customers, providing weaponry and tactical systems for battlefield, sea, and air. So if you build something or have technologies that work in weaponry and DoD systems, those would be your customers. And then there's the final column, which is my home at Space Systems. I'm so proud to say that that's where I've spent almost my entire 20-year career in aerospace, 20-year career. And Lockheed Martin is the only company on this planet that can say they have been to every planet in our solar system. We do that for NASA with our robotic systems that go to Mars, and now the Human Spaceflight Initiative with the Orion spacecraft. The Orion, as the Johnson Space Center folks told you this morning, Orion is being built to carry humans to the moon and Mars and beyond. And we've been in business now building this spacecraft for 10 years, more than 10 years, and we have paid over $1 billion to small businesses. Small businesses are critical to the success of this spacecraft. This is not NASA's spacecraft or Lockheed Martin's spacecraft. This is America's spacecraft, and all of you are necessary to help us build that, maintain that, and send humans exploring in space. So if it's up in space, that's the Space Systems Division. Tips for success. So you're here today to meet us, to talk to us, and we're going to meet you. What are we going to talk about on our first date? These qualifications that are up on the screen right now are not requirements for doing business with Lockheed Martin, but those are the things we want to hear from you on our first date. You know, are you a women-owned business? Have you worked with any of our federal customers? Quality certifications and security clearances. I have to emphasize the quality certifications, especially when you're manufacturing something for space. The qualifications are way above and beyond. You might be working in automotive, but if you're not AS9100 certified to manufacture, I can't put your hardware up in space. So we want to know if you understand those certifications and if you have them, because that puts you up above a lot of our supply chain. Get booted off the stage. Steps for success, particularly with us, and I'm sure my compadres up here will say the same thing. You're going to go to our websites. You're going to do your homework. At Lockheed Martin, we have a supplier marketing portal. So look for that. It's very easy to step through, upload your capabilities, tell us about you, and subscribe to our immediate needs bulletin board. We have begun a few years ago to start posting some of our larger enterprise-wide procurements that help all of the business areas. And people are giggling. Meet us today, meet us in the future at other conferences. Continue to do what you're doing, getting out there and networking. Subscribe to our SBIR and STTR distribution lists. We'll let you know what SBIRs we're interested in, and if you're participating in those, we want to know. And by all means, tell us what your awesomeness is, what opportunity you have for us. and what makes you different than the rest of the small business world. Because we want the best team. There's my contact information, and also Patty Pearson, who is my small business liaison officer at Space Systems, and I look forward to meeting and talking with you later today.
Okay, everybody in the audience, who knows what orbital ATK does? Okay, seriously, fake it for me. Raise your hands. Well, you know what? It doesn't matter. Because orbital ATK has been acquired by Northrop Grumman. So what you get today for just being here is a twofer. 2 for 1. That means me. So we don't know when Northrop Grumman is going to actually acquire us, and everything's going to be signed. So what I'm going to tell you a little bit is about orbital ATK, but by this afternoon we might be Northrop Grumman. But I will tell you that so far I will be a part of the Northrop Grumman group, which means that the contact with me, I can tell you all about Northrop Grumman too in a matter of appropriateness after the papers are signed. Here's some beautiful pictures that orbital ATK does. We have a flight division, a defense division, and a space division. Okay, what you basically need to know about me is I'm a manufacturer. Orbital ATK is a manufacturer. So anything that goes on a bill of material, okay, any widget, anything that goes on a bill of material that sends, that we can put together, that we deliver a product to NASA. We deliver a product. We have a developmental group, and we hire 600 engineers. We have 600 engineers. So we don't do a lot of staffing. We don't do a lot of services. It's basically anything that you can send me in a package and I can pay for. Okay? Basically. That doesn't mean that we can't talk about other things, because I know a lot of people. I have a disease, OLD, and I have been around for 28 years, so I have a lot of contact points. So okay, great, you just got it. So in that respect, I have a lot of contact points and I love to share them. I am in flight systems. I do a lot of work for space systems, and I know a lot of people in defense systems. Okay, and so please see me at my table. Give me your card. Tell me who you want to work with. I know that you're all going to go home and Google everything about orbital ATK. And at that point, send it to me. Say, I want to know about your defense systems. I will send you the small business liaison officers for that. And so you can start working with them directly if that makes sense for the business that you have. Tips and tricks, we're basically all the same. Be respectful. Email works well. And as you've heard from everybody else, we are pretty proud of our companies. We do believe that we are the best. Each and individual one of us, and please see us after. We're going to have matchmaking. I have a ton of cards, and I know a lot of people. That's basically all you need to know. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Laura with SAIC. I'm actually a program manager for an IT services contract at NASA Langley. So my background is in IT, software development, so that's what I'm pretty much familiar with, and not necessarily the small business of the corporation. But I think what I bring to the table is direct experience working with subcontractors, managing the sub-agreements, doing mentor-protege agreements. And so SAIC has a large presence at NASA. We're at all 10 centers, mostly providing IT services, software development, research, science. And so we look to our small business partners for help in those different areas. On this slide here, you'll get this whole package, so I'm not going to read the slides to you, but you'll see that on the last bullet there we have a website that you can register at and look at information for the work that we do. As this slide presents, SAIC is looking for small business partners. We look at the qualifications that you have. We have lots of opportunities there. And this just lists some of the contracts that we have at NASA. Our process, we look at requirements that we're going to work on. We're going to look at your qualifications. We're going to go through a selection process. We're very process oriented, so we work with folks, and if you don't understand what the process is, we'll work with you through that. Really, the best way to work with SAIC or really any prime is networking. I think we talked about that earlier. Talked about the contract listing, the active contract listing. You get a lot of information about the primes at each of the centers and who's working there and their needs. Again, tips, again, that networking and the listing. And then finally, like I said, since I'm a program manager, I've provided here the names and contact information for our small business folks at SAIC. Best thing you can do, as I said, is register at our supplier website. Thank you.
Morning, I'm Belinda Highfield with Sierra Nevada Corporation. We are corporate headquarters is in Sparks, Nevada, Sparks, Reno area, and we are a small, large company. So we're at 3,500 employees, and to give you an indication of the growth with this company, in 1991 when I started, I was the single buyer for the company. I now do supplier diversity, but we have 140 buyers across 6 different locations, and the growth has just been phenomenal. We were a barely multi-million, we are a multi-billion-dollar company now. Our owners were privately held, our owners are amazing. It's worth to go to our website and look at the company. If you're a small business, you want to know how to grow, look at the SNC story because, again, our owners have done amazing things. We are very diversified. We do integrated ISR solutions, aircraft design modification, cyber support, cybersecurity, navigation, guidance and landing, electronic warfare systems, which is one of my favorites. We have a product called Crew that is an IED jammer. It's just saved thousands of lives and limbs, and it's an amazing product. And, our military support services are just loving that thing. Counter UAS systems, sensor and mission systems, but then our favorite one now is our Dream Chaser spacecraft. Multi-mission utility vehicle designed for transporting crew and cargo to low Earth orbit destinations. This is the future of Sierra Nevada Corporation. It's something that we are all very, very proud of, and our first launch is set for 2020, and I can't wait to see that go up, taking service or supplies to the ISS. So, when I talk to the buyers in our company, there's one thing that stands out. They can tell me all sorts of things, but everyone's going to tell me the same thing over and over and over again. You're going to hear it over and over again. Do your homework, number 1. Number 2, communication. Bad, good, any news you have, give to us. Don't wait a month and think you're going to fix it and then come tell us. We'll help you. That's our job as buyers, and to support our small businesses, we will help you. So communication is so very, very important. And really, that's it, because I will meet with all of you this afternoon, too. Thank you.
Yeah, Glenn, my panel stayed on schedule. Just want you to know. So how long we got for questions? I got 5 to 10 minutes for questions, so. Oh, okay.
Great.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
Couple of questions, really. We're all yelling. This is for everybody. Do you participate in the mentor protege program? If so, how many proteges do you have, and can you disclose who they are and what they're doing for you?
Yes, we do. We have been an active participant in the Mentor Protege program.
You can go ahead.
I'm going to say, it's the open space, and they're going to talk about it.
Get a mic.
However,
I have the wonderful privilege of being your luncheon speaker today, and I was going to discuss the Mentor Protege program and how they all help. And I'm going to put them on the spot, and they're going to talk about that. So it's a little early, but just hang on a little bit longer, and if you don't mind, they'll be able to tell you all that they do. And they
Because
do
it's more than a
amazing work.
2-minute answer.
Yeah. Okay, cheers. Thanks.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I forgot, one of you mentioned that one of the things that you look for is a robust financial. I think you are talking about systems or accounting process. Do you want to talk about that? Because for those of us who are really small business, we don't usually have, first of all, we might not necessarily have a CPA audited reports or a large, we probably, maybe QuickBooks, but maybe something a little more sophisticated than that. So could you talk about what does that mean? What do you expect to see?
Yes, ma'am. So, you know, it is important to have a NCAA, a DCAA approved financial management system, but we do understand that some smalls do not have that, but that is important to us. But the main thing is being able to invoice us, being able to pay your people, being able to do all of those things that are very important to a federal contractor.
And I'd like to add, please contact the PTAC. They're awesome at teaching you about cost accounting practices. When we're spending, the government's paying us your tax dollars to go perform. So they're very picky about how we manage the money, and we flow that down to you. So just imagine that's why it's so important. We don't, you know, I've been there. We've gone and done audits, reviews, help, whatever. Audit sounds like such a bad name, of some new small businesses, and there's receipts in shoe boxes. And we get that. I mean, that's how you guys get started. But ultimately, when you're doing transactions with us and the federal government, you want to make sure you have a really strong cost accounting system. It's a really long training, not that long training, but too long for here. But the PTAC is awesome because they offer you free classes on how to get those books in order. So when you send us a proposal, you're ready.
I would also add that my experience has been that under a mentor-protege agreement, I actually had a sub who that's what we helped them with. They didn't have a certified system, so that was part of the goal in that agreement.
We've been at $2.8 billion, and I only got 2 questions. You guys are really interested in $2.8 billion, I see.
I am. I'm interested.
Okay, hold on just a second. I'm coming right back to you. Yes, ma'am.
In the mentor-protege relationship, do you guys sponsor facility clearances?
Okay, so I see Tabby standing up over there. So if you have a mentor protege question, it's going to probably be answered at lunch. So I don't want, Tabby's working on that now. But they do participate, but you're going to get a lot more detail at lunch about the mentor protege program and how they participate and what they do. Okay?
Considering you're going to be extremely busy from 1:15 all the way to about 3:30, with many of us trying to get a little bit of your time. Fortunately, I'm able to at least talk to one of you, and I would like to maybe after 3:15 or 3:30, maybe talk to one of you just because I wasn't able to match up to you. Now, are you going to stick around or are you bolting out of here?
I can answer that. The Cubs are home. And I have to catch a train.
Okay, thank you.
No, seriously, I don't know. What's the answer to that,
Michelle,
folks? You guys are going to have our contact information.
You, so I'm asking the others, are you going to stick around?
Of course. If you bolt the door, we'll be here. We accept self-certification as a federal contract. So we will send you, if we subcontract to you, send you out a bid, we will send what they call a certification. You will identify that you're a women-owned business and whatever, and then we accept that certification unless you're a HubZone company. And if you are a HubZone company, then that is a specific certification through the SBA system or 8A.
Right.
But we don't count 8A. We count you as a self-certification SDB, yes, for 8A.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Jeff Wright. I'm with Gold Leaf Capital Partners, and we help small business owners get access to capital. Can you talk a bit about some of the challenges that you see your vendors face as far as accessing capital and being able to fulfill some of these larger contracts and compete on your level?
You guys are looking at, yeah.
No, but I have one success story. Actually, one of NASA's Small Business of the Johnson Space Center Small Business of the Year. Oh, sorry, he used to be my customer. A small business in San Diego was having problems buying money for equipment. The equipment that you guys need to build, like manufacturers need to buy to do stuff for us, especially for NASA, because they're only building one or two. They're not building, 1,000 737s like at Boeing. So for a company to invest in a piece of equipment and not know if they're going to get, it's that chicken and egg. Well, I'll buy that 5-axis machine if you give me a contract, but I really can't come to you until I know you have that 5-axis machine. So that happens a lot. So no understanding the equipment, but what this supplier did was they went to the bank and they showed a NASA video and they said, I need this autoclave because there's none in America big enough to bake this composite material for the structures that America's building now. And it was awesome. So I would tell the small businesses, when you go ask for money, tell the human story, because for some reason it worked at that bank, and thank you for what you do to help them get their capital that they need for equipment and resources for this.
Thank you.
I can add an example that's more related to healthcare. One of our subs, when we won our contract, she operates out of California, and we're in Virginia. So we picked up a large incumbent staff. She had but just getting the whole healthcare thing together related to whatever Virginia requires versus California. Just getting enough capital up front to be able to do that and offer her employees the full range of healthcare was a challenge for her.
Hi, my name is Darryl Weber. I'm with Weber Casting LLC. And my question is, when you are just starting out and you don't have a lot of past performance, and you've been in business for a couple of years, what type of advice would you give a new company trying to become a subcontractor for a larger prime?
So like at Boeing, obviously we take references. Like I said, if you're just starting up and you have limited past performance, we come out and actually do a self-evaluation of your corporation and look at what you're providing to us. So we sort of do our own self-evaluation, and we'll start out slow with you, and then just continue developing you, because that's part of our program is supplier development. So we try to help you grow. And like I said, Tavia touched on the Mentor Protege program is a perfect example of growing a small business that with limited past performance. So we'll talk more on that, but yeah, we'll support and help grow small businesses. That's part of our program.
I have one other comment on that. On past performance, do a combination of years with all of your employees or with all of your leadership. Because if you've been working at a company for 20 years, want to break out on your own, have the entrepreneurial spirit, but you opened your door 6 months ago, but we understand that you honestly have been in the business, then you need to say that my experience is 20 years. The company is only 6 months. So all of that is very positive, and you can use all of your employees if they have been in the industry, been in the business for that, and that's totally acceptable. Not the company itself. You have to specify that and be communicative about that. But I would take that as a positive, and you can combine those years.
And if I could add too, it is important to consider maybe partnering with other smalls with prime contracts that share your core capability. So that's another option to think about.
And lastly, to dovetail that, we have a lot of suppliers that are not as big as us, but are big enough to pay you millions of dollars, and we flow the small business requirements to them. So sometimes when you're just getting started, trying to go up against a Northrop Grumman or a Lockheed Martin is a little bit intimidating or just hard. So find out who our major subcontractors are on our big programs, and we can share you that information and get you in touch with them, and then you get your boots on the ground experience with them and move upwards. So it's not just us up here, it's a whole group of sub-tiers and accessibility.
Okay, I got time for 2 more questions. So I got one here and then I have one down there. Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Matt Fields with Fields Technologies. And my question is specifically for Laura Blumberg. As a former contracting officer, current contracting officer, what cybersecurity stipulations have you seen passed down from the government or NASA specifically that kind of in line with what the DoD is doing right now in regards to protecting controlled unclassified information?
So that's a loaded question. We could spend days talking about that, but real quick. So NASA's IT requirements are in alignment with FISMA and the NIST standard. And so as contractors, we have those same requirements. And if I can tie it to our subcontractors, the requirements in our contract is that they also require an IT security plan for the systems that they have within their facilities. So all of that is flowed down through NASA, through the contract, through the subcontract agreement. I can't really compare it to DoD because I don't have experience with DoD, but we're in compliance with the federal standards. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Last question.
I'm Eugene Botchway with Ability Engineering Technology. My question has to do with, from the government side, finding out who the primes are for the different contracts you have. It's not very easy to figure out who those people are so you can approach them and bid. It's sometimes it takes a little bit of work sometimes to determine that NASA's got this contract out and it's going to go to Jacobs or it's going to go to Boeing or whoever. And the second part, and then the other question I have related to the subcontractors with the primes who get those contracts. Sometimes you folks are divided into those that do government work and then those that do non-government work. And the capabilities we have go across board. But it's not easy to sometimes go from one side to the other because some of you guys are so big, you don't talk to each other. And we don't know how to then penetrate that and be able to expand the opportunities we can bid on. So could you guys maybe comment on that?
So that contract listing that I mentioned, the ACL that Glenn talked about earlier, is the best way to find out within NASA who are the primes. I would also add that there's probably industry associations that those primes are also members of. I know if you're in aerospace, there's an Aerospace States Association, ASA. There's a number of states that belong to that, so they talk about aerospace opportunities and lots of networking there. Locally at Virginia, we have a Virginia Aerospace Business Association that does the same thing, so there's probably something similar in your area. As far as, at least for SAIC, finding out who's who in the company and commercial versus government, for us, and that's probably true here, most of us have a single liaison or point of contact for small business office. So I would start there because they can direct you to any part of the company.
And I would just add to that, and I do apologize because it's true, large companies are difficult to do business with, but I think what we've stated over here today is relationship building is the most important, and I think Brad said it's a marathon. It takes years and years and days and months and everything to get those relationships and to build them. But as Laura said, yes, there is a point of contact, small business liaison officers at every company. That's the reason that we have our jobs, is to coordinate, to put you in touch with the right people at our companies. And yes, and I do apologize, there are sometimes that because of acquisitions, because the way the world works, We do not have one single vendor base. So if you're doing business with Chandler, Arizona and my launch division, that doesn't mean that you're absolutely on our vendor base. So yes, I'm sorry, it is hard, but you guys are amazing. You guys are the small business. You guys are the ones that make the world go round. And so little by little, we're just here to help you. So we've got to build on that.
And I'll close that out for the government side, yes. That's why I started out my whole speech is you've got to build a relationship with the small business specialists at that particular center. And this is true across the entire federal government, DOD, Energy, Homeland Security. There's one of us in every single center or every department of the agency. And if you build a relationship with us, we know who our prime contractors are. We know who their SBLOs are. We 9 out of 10 times know who their subcontractors are on a particular program, especially if it's out of our area. If we're paying the bills for it, trust me, we can track the dollars. And that's true for DOD and Energy, Homeland Security, all of that. And it takes a while to build a relationship. Just, you know, like when you met your wife the first time, you didn't say, oh, that's the woman I'm marrying or your husband. It takes a while to build a relationship, okay? So get to know us. But again, as I say, don't stalk us, but get to know us after a while, okay? And it's the best way to do business. And it does take, 18 to 24 months. But I can tell you now, and even I've had these oops moments where all of a sudden some requirement comes up and I go, oh, about 6 months ago, a year ago, this guy I talked to really wants to do that, and it does work. And I'll call this guy up and say, get in touch with this person, and lo and behold, they end up with a contract because I talked to them 6-8 months ago, and it stuck in my mind and made that good of an impression. And I can tell you, I've been doing this now 12 years at NASA alone in about a number of years, but I can think of at least 10 to 15, 20 times that's happened just to me, okay? And I can tell you that around the agency that happens often, okay? So you've heard even Jennifer tell you right before me, relationships, relationships, relationships. You do business with people you have a relationship with, you know, and you trust. That's the bottom line that I can say it, and it doesn't happen overnight. Okay, so on that note, I think we can end.
Yeah, one last comment.
Go ahead, just
real quick.
Yeah, so as Glenn said, it's 18 to 24 months out, and all the centers have their acquisition forecast, so you can start tracking acquisitions. So us as primes, and I know I'll speak for Boeing, is when we start pursuing an acquisition, one of the full and open, and we're developing our proposal, we are starting to define our make-buy decisions. So you guys have got to get in the front end of the business. Don't wait until it's announced that Boeing Company won this award, or Lockheed Martin, or ATK, or Jacobs, because by then it's actually too late to get in our, start doing business with us. So as you start tracking acquisitions, get your capabilities into us, and we'll get you into the consideration for some of the make-buy decisions.
So with that, my panel's time is up. I'd like for you all to join me in thanking my panel.